what never to say to an alchemist. If you're dealing with an alchemist as a client or a brand that you represent to others, who are most likely alchemists themselves, if they're attracted to your brand, never say to them, we have options. Or do you prefer this or that version of the brand, the product, the service? I know it sounds counterintuitive, and in fact for Mavericks, and you can go to the video I did on Mavericks, that is catnip to them. They love being given options. And the romantic wants everything done for them, easy, comfort, it's done for you, and you can go to that video. The alchemist wants opposite, but not a choice. Reason being, the alchemist is the ultimate magic wand creator. Just like the Maverick, they're very creative in seeking innovative solutions, but where the Maverick goes to seek out new paths outside the known world, outside that which has already been discovered, the alchemist likes to take what's already known ground, territory that's already known, but combine two seemingly impossible elements into something new. So if you give them this element or that element, the alchemist's creativity, their imagination, their excitement stalls. You just cut the alchemist off. So never tell them this or that, or we have this option or the other option, or wouldn't this option be preferable given your particular situation? No. The alchemist is motivated by, like chemistry, by the notion of one element combined with another element. 1 + 1 creates a combustion, like a chemical reaction, out of which a third emerges. And that's where the alchemist thrives and gets excited and inspired. So instead of saying this option or that option, tell them the magic is in the gap. Wouldn't it be interesting if we combine the new with the old? So instead of giving them options, say, what if we combine the boldness of innovation with the timelessness of tradition? The result could be something truly revolutionary. Imagine bridging the gap. The conflict resolution of these two elements could truly be groundbreaking. Or bridging the gap between this and that could be the transformation you really desire. Contrasts energize the alchemist, not because of the contrasts, but because of the combination they create. They see connections where no one else sees connections. They are able to convert one element and another element and create something truly amazing out of it. In music, the classical example would be Elvis Presley. He tapped into the classical blues, African American community music tradition that had been prevalent since the 20s and combined it with this new youth culture. After World War II, no longer were the adults desirable, but the teenage culture, the rebels without a cause, now dictated what was cutting edge. And Elvis tapped into this rebel youth desire and culture with his music. On the one hand, it was revolutionary for young white kids to be part and parcel of the African American culture, but that was just the excitement and the time, the spirit of the day of a radical reshifting of society and cultural norms, but also translating the music of the blues and Delta blues into the modern, edgy rock and roll spirit of the 50s, created something no one else had seen before, not by going outside what has been known before, but combining two existing elements into something new that truly revolutionized the culture of America and of music, of course. So frame contrasts as the desirable elements for the alchemist. You could say, I know it sounds contradictory, but the fusion of both could truly create a brilliant, groundbreaking innovation. Frame contrasts as exciting challenges and say, inviting them into the steps of reconciling contrasts and framing it as there is where the brilliance lies. Offer new perspectives to seeming impossible dualities. See them as ways that they can be combined. And of course, speaking of fusion, we all know of fusion cuisine, combining Asian cuisines or even combining Asian Italian cuisines. For better and worse, for some it works, for some it doesn't. But this entire fusion is also at the heartbeat of our current society. We currently live in a postmodern age, perhaps at the end of the postmodern age, where the fusion of different truths, of different entities comes together, the splintering of truths, the splintering of just one versus the other, and instead the bringing together the combustion, the fusion of cultures, cuisines, styles, ideas, and innovations. That is the alchemist's true playground where they can shine. So speak in a language that speaks to them, that they don't just understand, but that excites in them the desire to create in this alchemist way of 1 + 1 = 3, which seems like magic, but it is, of course, steeped in science. Aside from never giving them options or saying one is preferable to the other, never say to an alchemist, oh, it's already been done. All options have been exhausted. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. There's no way to make these two ideas work. This will turn off the alchemist. Instead, flip the switch on them and turn them into your allies by creating these contrasts and the gaps as the brilliance that you offer them. Practical solutions. Let's say you're a realtor or interior design service. Would never to tell them, which most design services do, they give them different images and options. Pick the French chateau style or the Tuscan villa or the Nantucket beach house. No, that's not how the alchemist's mind works best. Instead, tell them this is a highly innovative smart home that combines high modern convenience with traditional elegance. Or give them the options of interior design that combines high tech with quaint or vintage pieces. Have you ever seen those Instagram accounts or interior designers who showcase their work on Instagram and everything looks beige on beige, minimalistic, easy on the eye, but absolutely nothing that captures your imagination? That is the visual equivalent of turning the alchemist against you. They don't want just one option, least of which is an option that doesn't have its own character, its own profile, its own individuality. Instead, they want stark contrasts together. They want a beach house, but with Victorian interior, let's say, or they want a Hollywood Hills hacienda with French flair. Limited resources, strangely enough, is paradise for the alchemist. because they will find ways to combine a limited resource of one substance with a limited resource of another and create something else. They combine it in something very creative and unexpected. Synergy and multiplication is part and parcel of the alchemist's love language. Engage them with what hidden opportunities lie in the lack of such and such a situation. They are so excited to dig into creating new opportunities, new connections, new combinations of resources, ideas, and contrasts that no one else has ever thought of before. How to turn an alchemist from no into let's go, stimulate their transformative power, show them that there are unearthed possibilities inside the impossible. What seemed impossible is becoming possible. What to say to them? What if we see this lack of resources as the ultimate opportunity to create something truly transformative? Sometimes the most amazing things happen when we take the leap. I know you will come up with something brilliant. Flip the focus from them to the transformation they desire. Alchemists are inspired by the ripple effects that they create beyond themselves, reframing their hesitation as an opportunity to create something that transforms society that no one else has perceived as a possibility. Introduce playful pressure through the power of faith. See, faith, strangely enough, is at the root of the alchemist's propeller, motor, engine, and imagination. See, the 1 + 1 is also the true engine of our belief in God and prayer, because the praying person and God together create that which has not been seen before. You can find the alchemist principles throughout the Bible, and Romans 4:17 in particular nails it down. I call those things which are not as though they were, and that's what the alchemist does. Let me take you to a quick detour through history, because we talked about postmodernity, which is where we live in, which is a culture of fusion, of putting together that which previously was split apart. Well, the principle has always been there, as we just talked about in the Bible, of 1 + 1 = 3. That which is not yet combined with your faith that it could be, turning it into a third, namely that which exists. Well, Hegel, a German philosopher, nailed this principle down in his philosophy, Hegelian dialectic. Maybe you've heard of it. And that is exactly that principle. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 = 3. So let me explain the principle of Hegelian dialectic in practical terms. Daddy, mommy together doesn't create hybrid, but instead it creates a third, a child. Even in color theory, if you mix red and blue, I'm not quite sure what would be coming out, but it creates purple. Or you mix one color with another color, it's not red with green sprinkles or green with red stripes, but instead it creates a combination of the two. And that's a principle that seems to be at the universal root of human experience and our creativity. So the alchemist is particularly adept at that. Have there been abuses? Yes. Of course, Hegelian principles have been used in communism with Marx, introducing that to society to rather disastrous results. And it's always a clash of class, as with communism, a clash of races, as with Black Lives Matter, which is a form of socialism. And the idea is that a third would emerge, a classless society, a raceless society, one where everyone is equal. It's that beige on beige, no one is different, no one is allowed to stand out principle. And it does create a third, because the socialism principle of clashes of classes or races or other segments of society, and instead of a more equal society, it creates a third insofar as there is a high elite ruling class. Think Mao's China or any of the socialist countries or experiment that created a very thin ruling class that rule and lord it over the rest of everyone else. Or think of just recently Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum, Davos, and the globalist agenda that seems to be in rapid decline right now, because people see behind that supposed alchemist agenda of the clash of society, sometimes creating purposefully chaos in society with the hopes of creating something new. But the new that is created tends to be creating an even more imbalanced society, a high elite and the rest that is oppressed. So yes, as with everything else, there can be cautionary tales when it comes to alchemism. But most of the time, especially if the individuals desire to reconcile conflicts and transform elements, it is a highly creative, innovative aspect that once you present that to the alchemist, they will instantly be inspired. Hint, there's an alchemist in all of us. And while we go through the 8 personality types or prosperity personas, yes, we tend to naturally gravitate towards one over the other. That comes natural to us. So an alchemist most likely has that as a natural propensity in how they operate and see the world. But really, we have all the other personas latent or dormant, present in each of us, that can be activated. So it's not like an alchemist can never understand the maverick. Of course we can, or the romantic. But it seems to be an operating principle, a modus operandum that motivates, that inspires, that each one has fits into one of these 8 major archetypes. And so when you want to take advantage of that powerhouse, and it's nothing bad of taking advantage, but tap into its latent potential, then speak their language and know how to motivate the alchemist, how to create the best in the alchemist, how to inspire the alchemist to rise to their true potential, even though they perhaps may not even know that this is what drives them. We explored the alchemist in politics, in philosophy, in music, think Elvis, in architecture and sales conversations, such as selling a house by a realtor. There's also an aspect of that in beauty and style. One that comes to mind is Elsa Hosk, the Swedish model, who is really quite unusual in her looks. And if you look at her, you might even consider her, if you were to take each piece on its own, rather unattractive. Her eyes are too wide, the nose sits close to the mouth, but altogether it is a beauty that seems to be created out of contrasts, contradictions, and tensions. There's symmetry, there's harmony in it, but it's one harmony that comes by constantly looking at it as you try and combine these rather unusual features together that she has created. And sometimes the alchemist creates that in their mind. It's all between the ears that they create beauty even in the outer looks. Versus you may have seen models who are perfect, picture perfect, but so bland they're instantly forgettable. Elsa Hosk's style is equally inspired by the alchemy. She is from Sweden and has Elsa Hosk's style is equally inspired by the alchemist principles. She combines the demure with sexual allure. She's from Scandinavia, the Jacandi style, Japanese Scandinavian minimalist style, with a certain element of opulence and decadence even. She presents herself in a very structured way, and her fashion is very structured at the same time as she seems to play with softness, femininity, and again a certain kind of baroque, over-the-top, avant-garde opulence, if you will. She combines the classical with the avant-garde. She combines the classical with cutting edge. She turns her flaws into fabulous and fantastic. Mystique and mystery with a certain clarity and transparency. She mixes the futuristic with a certain retro 50s, 40s nostalgia. So how to reach the alchemist, whether they're a client or whether your brand represents the alchemist. Emphasize ideas such as the visionary side, the transformative side, and the idea of collaboration that creates something new. And this is different from the connector, which we are going to speak about in another video. The connector is also a unique brand personality or prosperity persona. But the connector is different from the collaborator. The collaborator is the alchemist's playground, where 1 + 1 creates something brand new that no one has seen before. Invoke faith as a possibility. Show that that which is not yet can indeed be created. Emphasize the magic, the manifestation to create something out of seemingly nothing. One final caveat: innovators are dreamers, and as such, the realists, such as the accumulators, may want to press them into stick to the plan. Never press an alchemist into sticking to the plan or into that which is realistic and manifest and obvious. Believe in the potential as dreamers, and if you are an alchemist yourself, allow yourself the space to dream, because that is the fertile ground where you create something unique and special that sets you apart from everyone else and makes you so unique as an entrepreneur, a brand, or an individual, or an artist. The artists, of course, are the ultimate alchemists as well. So the alchemists are the ultimate artists of life, but they create so much value that no one has envisioned before, purely by the power to combine that which exists in new and transformative ways to create something extraordinary. So I applaud all of you who are alchemists and those who know how to speak to the alchemist to bring out the best in them. Like, subscribe, comment, are you an alchemist? And take advantage of the free resources I've made available for you in the description that help you dig deeper into your prosperity persona or your brand identity, brand blueprint. And if you want to take it even further, you can take one of my courses or DM me for consultation services. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.